escape plan works.
With profound, humble gratitude and love to all venerated enlightened masters, we bow to the Almighty in soulful gratefulness for gifting us with their holy, blessed presence. May all beings be awakened by their divine grace. Etc.
Welcome to the Legacy of Venerated Ānanda, Vegan, Wisdom, Memory, and Devotion, Part 1 of 2. In the Buddhist tradition, two bhikshu disciple statues are often positioned on either side of the world-honored one, the worshipped Shakyamuni Buddha, vegan. On the left is the venerated Mahakassapa, vegan, and on the right is the venerated Ananda, vegan. Mahakassapa is a model of passionate devotion in practice, embodying the spirit of rigorous discipline and asceticism. In contrast, Ananda is renowned for his knowledgeability and skillful explanation of all queries, as well as his exceptional memory. Standing next to the world-honored one, they symbolize the dual aspects of the Buddha's disciples, deep practice and profound wisdom. Today, we would like to introduce the venerated Ananda, one of the 10 principal disciples of the Buddha, renowned foremost for having heard much. In the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, he was thus praised by the Buddha.
Ananda is diligent and earnest in practice, able to solve all doubts. You should all observe thoroughly that Ananda is a well-learned sage.
Ananda was also the Buddha's attendant, the one closest to the Buddha, who listened to most of his discourses. His astonishing memory enabled him to memorize the Buddha's teachings, thus preserving many precious sutras to this day. Ananda is considered an important figure in Buddhist tradition, which is well reflected in almost all Buddhist discourses that start with the words, "Thus have I heard." The I denotes the venerated Ananda, who recited verbatim what he had heard from the Buddha. Ananda was the youngest male cousin of the Buddha, with a 30-year difference in age. His name, Ananda, literally means celebration, bliss, joy. Coincidentally, his birthday was on the day of the Buddha's enlightenment, a time of great rejoicing in the city, which inspired his father to choose this name for him. 6 years later, when the Buddha returned to his home country to preach the Dharma, the 6-year-old Ananda admired him so much that he eventually left a worldly life to follow the Buddha, embracing the monastic path. The venerated Ananda had a good-looking face with regular features and clear complexion. It was therefore said that he had 30 proper facial features, almost resembling the 32 phases of the Buddha, that everyone seeing him would feel elated. Because he had been practicing for many lifetimes, having been a fervent adherent to all Buddhas, these accumulated merits and virtues caused him to attain a brilliant memory. He could remember everything the Buddha said, with no need for any further inquiries. In the Daiji Dolun, or the Great Treatise on the Perfection of Wisdom, Ananda was so praised in one of the Buddha's poems.
Having a face bright and tranquil as the full moon, with eyes as pure and radiant as the lotus blossom, Ananda's heart is filled with Dharma teachings as vast as the sea. Such a perfect being, so appealing that anyone seeing him will rejoice exceedingly.
The most powerful daily prayer for any time and before meditation, which is the order from God, and Supreme Master Ching Hai shares with us by His blessed grace.
We humbly worship, praise, thank, obey, and love God Almighty, the Most High, the greatest, for world vegan, world peace, and our soul liberation. We thank, love, praise the only Son of God, who is the ultimate Master for our salvation. We follow the teaching of all the saints and sages. We thank, love, and praise them, who are the representatives of God for our spiritual elevation.
Ananda was a person of sincerity, selflessness, and thoughtfulness towards others. He was also humble, polite, and tolerant, qualities that endeared him to both monastics and lay people, who regarded him with great respect, while also treating him as a friend. Throughout his life, Ananda had no enemies. The Buddha did not hesitate to praise him too.
Among my Sravaka or sound hearer disciples, he is the foremost bhikshu, grasping the right timing to make the appropriate action, understanding the nature of things. Whatever he does, there would be no hindrance in his way. Having a brilliant memory, a person of extensive knowledge, I am telling you, these are the qualities of Ananda the bhikshu. Excerpt from Ekutara Agama.
Vegan, a duty of humans.
Sincere viewers, let's take time now to contemplate on the Buddha nature within our hearts. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television.
Another hot day here at the Riley Ranch. Let's treat the animals to this wheelbarrow of watermelon.
Welcome back to the Legacy of Venerated Ānanda, Vegan, Wisdom, Memory, and Devotion, Part 1 of 2. Many bhikshus wondered about Ananda's past merits that enabled him to remember all the teachings of the worshipped Shakyamuni Buddha, Vegan, flawlessly. Our most beloved Supreme Master Ching Hai, Vegan, told the story during a lecture in 2015. The bhikshus approached the Buddha and asked,
Praise to the World Honored One. Anand Bhikshu, in the former life, what has he done to earn so much merit that nowadays he could remember everything like this? Please tell us. So the Buddha say, excellent. I will tell you. This was long time ago. Long time ago. There was a bhikkhu who had adopted Sami. You know Sami in Sanskrit also? Okay. Meaning novice, a novice monk, a young boy who came in and learning to be a monk. Every day he make him learn the sutra by heart, very diligently, on time, and never fail. Yeah. If this Sami recited the sutra, the teaching and all that according to the time schedule, then the bhikkhu was very happy. Yeah. If not, then he was upset and sometimes reprimanded him, scolded him.
One day, after a difficult alms round, with little food, the Sami returned late and missed his recitation schedule. The next day, while begging for food and crying, a wealthy person asked why he was upset. The Sami explained,
"My master is very strict. If I follow the recitation schedule, he is happy. If not, he scolds me. Begging for food isn't always predictable, and sometimes I can't return on time to complete my tasks."
So the rich noble gentleman said, "Oh, so from today then, you just come to my house. We always have enough food. I will always give ample food for you and your master. So you never have to worry about food anymore. Then you can have time and concentration to recite the Buddha Sutra." Yeah, wow, that's very nice. Yeah. So since then, he always go there and has everything he need, and master and disciple very, very happy, happy ending. And then the Buddha reminded the assembly thus, "Bhikkhu, you should know, the master of the Sami at that time is the Buddha, a stable light. That's the name. And the Sami at that time is the past reincarnation of myself." Yeah. The noble gentleman who offered food every day to the master and disciple, that was Ananda.
In many Buddhist scriptures, Ananda often plays the role of requesting the Buddha to deliver lectures to the public. Numerous sutras begin with dialogues between the Buddha and Ananda. For instance, the Surangama Sutra, one of the most influential Buddhist texts, came into being through Ananda's encounter and entanglement with a maiden named Metanga while he was going for alms. They had been husband and wife in their past 500 lifetimes, and Metanga's mother attempted to use sorcery to compel Ananda to marry her daughter. Fortunately, the Buddha sent the worshipped Manjushri Bodhisattva vegan to rescue Ananda by reciting the Surangama Sutra. Subsequently, Metanga was taught by the Buddha, ordained as a bhikshuni, and attained arhat status. This is how the Surangama Sutra came into existence. In the first 20 years of the Buddha's ministry, he had several personal attendants, but none were permanent. By the time the Buddha reached around 53 years of age, he realized a need for a dedicated, permanent attendant, as his previous attendants had not performed their duties satisfactorily, and his need for reliable assistance grew more pressing with age. Several of his foremost disciples eagerly volunteered. However, the Buddha did not accept any of them. Throughout this process, Ananda remained silent. Curious, the other disciples asked him why he hadn't stepped forward. Ananda calmly replied, "The Buddha knows best whom to choose." Ananda was chosen as the Buddha's attendant. However, Ananda set 3 conditions before accepting the position. First, he would never wear the Buddha's clothes, whether new or used. Second, he would not escort the Buddha to any meal offering party when invited by any followers. Third, he would not go to see the Buddha at those times when he was not supposed to go. Knowing this, the Buddha was not offended by these conditions. Instead, he praised Ananda readily, saying he was indeed a bhikshu of good character and very clever too, able to foresee the consequences of actions. The Buddha recognized that Ananda's requests were to prevent any suspicion or thought that he had chosen the position with ulterior motives. During his tending the Buddha, the venerated Ānanda proved that he was well qualified for the job. Not only did he care for the Buddha with devotion, but he also greatly contributed to the internal harmony of the Sangha. Welcome to the Legacy of Venerated Ānanda, Vegan, Wisdom, Memory, and Devotion, Part 2 of 2. The venerated Ānanda was one of the 10 principal disciples of the worshipped Shakyamuni Gautama Buddha, vegan, renowned foremost for having heard much. His astonishing memory enabled him to memorize the Buddha's teachings, thus preserving many precious sutras to this day. When the venerated Ānanda became the attendant of the Buddha, he accompanied the Buddha on most of his travels, spreading his teachings. Ananda diligently took care of the Buddha's daily needs, such as fetching water and cleaning his dwelling place, even standing guard at night to ensure the Buddha's safety. For over 25 years, he tended to the Buddha with heartfelt devotion, sharing a warm and trusting relationship. Ananda's loyalty sometimes led him to risk his life for his master. In one instance, the rebellious monk Devadatta attempted to kill the Buddha by releasing a wild, drunken elephant person. Fearlessly, Ananda stepped in front of the Buddha, ready to protect him. When the Buddha instructed him to move, Ananda refused. However, the Buddha, using his supernatural abilities, gently moved Ananda aside and subdued the elephant individual with loving kindness, touching him tenderly and speaking softly. Ananda was respected by the mass of bhikshunis. When the Buddha's foster mother, the Venerable Mahaprajapati Gautami Vegan, sought the Buddha's permission to join the holy order, he initially refused. Later, seeing Mahaprajapati, the Venerable Ananda asked her why she was crying. She replied that the world-honored one did not permit women to become ordained as a nun. Touched by Mahaprajapati Gautami's resolve, Ananda met with Gautama Buddha and respectfully asked,
Lord, are women capable of realizing the various stages of sainthood as nuns?
The Buddha replied,
They are, Ananda.
Encouraged by the Buddha's reply, Ananda said,
If that is so, Lord, then it would be good if women could be ordained as nuns.
If, Ananda, Mahaprajapati Gautami would accept the 8 conditions, it would be regarded that she has been ordained already as a nun.
In the end, the Buddha consented to establish the Bhikshuni order, together with a set of rules known as 8 respects or Garudhammas. Since then, women have been accepted into the monastic order, and this was attributed to Ananda. The worshipped Shakyamuni Buddha was very satisfied with Ananda's dedication, remarking, No attendant of any past or future Buddhas would be better than Ananda.
Ananda was gifted with 4 special merits, namely, he was well favored by all the bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas. Even if he remained silent, when he started preaching the Dharma, all the assembly would be thrilled. Everyone would love to look at his complexion without ceasing, and everyone would love to hear him teach the Dharma without ceasing. Excerpt from Dirgha Agama.
Vegan, because all are brethren.
In 2019, our most beloved Supreme Master Qinghai, vegan, lecturing on the Surangama Sutra, highlighted the time that the Buddha transmitted the Guanyin method to Ananda.
The Buddha said that he wanted to cause Ananda to become enlightened. So he asked Manjushri to contemplate all the 25 arhats, irreversible arhats, non-returnable bodhisattvas that told you 25 methods. Could you explain it to Ananda and the assembly and the beings after my extinction, after my nirvana? Which expedient door is the best? Ananda wasn't enlightened at all at that point, and been with Buddha all this time, stay next to him, memorized so many discourses and miracles that happen within the assembly, within the followers of the Buddha. Imagine that. So intellectual cleverness or sharp faculty of memory means nothing. But we have to thank the Reverend Ananda for all this. Okay?
Per the Buddha's request, Manjushri Bodhisattva, vegan, describes the different methods of spiritual practice and explains why meditating on the Guanyin with the blessing of a living master is the only way to enlightenment and eternal liberation.
Ananda and everyone in this great assembly, turn yourselves around and revert the hearing. Return the hearing and listen to the self-nature till the nature reaches the supreme way. You do that until you attain the supreme way. That is what perfect penetration really means. It is the gateway enter. He means the Guanyin method is the gateway for you to come inside, to enter. They just say enter, meaning you go inward instead. To enter the Buddhahood, to enter the true nature, yeah? Okay. By Buddhas, as many as dust motes. This is a gateway that all the Buddhas use to enter, yeah. It is the one path to Nirvana. One path. Wow. Not even there are other paths to enter Nirvana, but one path to enter Nirvana.
Vegan, let's repair the temple of God.
When the worshipped Shakyamuni Buddha, vegan, was about to enter Nirvana, he said to Ananda,
"Don't grieve or weep anymore. Being my attendant, you have always been kind and compassionate and have gained huge merits for serving me that no others could be compared to you. If you would just persevere and be diligent in your spiritual practice, you would certainly be enlightened very soon." Excerpt from Dirgha Agama.
When the Buddha entered into Nirvana, the Sangha elected venerated Mahakashyapa, vegan, as the presiding monk and started to assemble the Buddha's discourses to compile the sutras. Ananda was also present, but Mahakashyapa listed out his past wrongdoings and reprimanded him for polluting the council, since he had not yet attained Arhat status. Shunning Ananda from the council, Mahakashyapa said,
"In trance is prohibited unless having attained the sacred status."
Ananda, faced with such humiliation, diligently meditated on the Guanyin overnight and finally attained enlightenment. He then performed a supernatural feat by entering the council hall with the door still locked. Mahakasipa then explained to him,
I was just trying to impel you to do your best. Please do not blame me for helping you. Now is the time for you to reciprocate the Buddha's grace to you by doing as instructed to advocate the Buddha's teachings.
Ananda then recited all the discourses made by the Buddha through the decades. Almost all sutras began with the words, "Thus have I heard," since those sutras were recalled from Ananda's memory. Among them were Dikha Agama, Madhyama Agama, Ekotara Agama, Samyukta Agama, Apadana, Parable Sutra, Dhammapada, etc.
The most powerful daily prayer for any time and before meditation, which is the order from God, and Supreme Master Ching Hai shares with us by His blessed grace.
We humbly worship, praise, thank, obey, and love God Almighty, the Most High, the greatest, for world vegan, world peace, and our soul liberation. We thank, love, praise the only Son of God, who is the ultimate Master, for our salvation. We follow the teaching of all the saints and sages. We thank, love, and praise them, who are the representatives of God for our spiritual elevation.
Why was it that Ananda could not achieve Arhat status before the Buddha passed into Nirvana? Our most beloved Supreme Master Ching Hai, vegan, answered this question during a lecture in 2018.
It was not because Ananda was slower or less spiritual. It was just his destiny to serve the Buddha first. Okay? And to try to remember everything the Buddha said in the assembly, or whatever happened in the assembly, and all the spiritual stories that happen within the Buddha's assemblies and disciples. Just like nowadays, you have miracle events, miracle stories and all that. Before, there was no record players. Yeah? So somebody has to write it down or memorize it all. Ananda that was his job. You see, if he became Buddha too quickly, maybe he could not have done this, yeah, because he would have lost his intellectual power, memory, so that he could become more pure to become Buddha. So he had to continue to be so-called a little ignorant until after Buddha passed away. Yeah, after Buddha passed away, he became enlightened immediately and became Arhat, okay, and become one of the successors.
Before passing away, the Buddha entrusted his Dharma to Mahakasipa, who became the first patriarch of the Western heavens in the lineage of Zen Buddhism. Ananda is revered as the second patriarch of the Western heavens. He succeeded Mahakasipa as leader of the Sangha and continued to spread the Dharma. The venerated Ānanda enjoyed an extra long lifespan. When he reached 120 years, the Magadha kingdom was about to attack the Vaishali kingdom. The venerated Ānanda, hoping to prevent an imminent war between them, surged into the air over them above the river Ganges. He meditated in mid-air. Upon achieving samadhi, he made his body go up in fire, then passed into nirvana with his relics, divided into two parts, landing on both banks of the river. With this, the two kingdoms would build stupas dedicated to Ananda. As the soldiers of both kingdoms saw this incredible scene, they burst into tears touched by Ananda's greatness. They immediately made peace with each other, and the conflict was prevented. With utmost sincerity, we thank the worshipped Shakyamuni Buddha, venerated Ananda, and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and noble monastics for preserving the valuable teachings that uplift humanity spiritually and contribute to world peace.
A true monk should not accept such food and drink that has been especially prepared for him, involving the slaughter of living beings. Sutra Kritanga, Jainism.
Noble viewers, thank you for joining us today. Coming up next is Where to Find Sanctuary in Good Religious Traditions, Part 8 of 11, on Between Master and Disciples, here on Supreme Master Television. May Buddha's grace exude in all that you do.
Being vegan, having peace, doing good deeds, life is a feast.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/ls.
저희 방송은 다양한 언어를 제공합니다. 다음을 참고하세요. suprememastertv.com/schedule 그리고 suprememastertv.com/ls.
Also, be sure to follow us on our socials: YouTube, Facebook, Getter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Nico, Pinterest, Reddit, Substack, Telegram, Threads, TikTok, Truth Social, Tumblr, VK, and X, previously known as Twitter, in multiple languages by searching Supreme Master TV.